You're listening to the Fitzrock Podcast, interviews where we explore the shifts and transitions of life. Here are your hosts, Keith Rock and Don Fitzsimmons. Hello, everybody. Today we are excited to have Raye Jonas with us. A lot of you have heard our guests talk about breakthrough seminars. Raye serves on the board of directors of Heart Connection Seminars, who is the sponsoring agency of those. She is married, lives in Kansas City, Kansas, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about lessons she has learned. So Raye, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Excited to have you here today. I'm going to start us out. Tell us some about your journey in life before we get to your lessons.
Yeah, so I've had kind of a long life already by the age of 24. I grew up in a small town in southeast Kansas, and I got married by the time I was 19, and then I was divorced by the time I was 21. And then I moved around for a little bit, and then I met my current husband on a dating app, and I moved to Kansas City and started my life with him, and realized I had a lot of unresolved traumas that I did not even give myself any acknowledgement or anything even happened. And then I started going through therapy and then breakthrough, and here I am now, married, going back to school to do something that I want to do, very content and happy with my life.
That kind of helps us give a perspective of where you've been in life. Through all of those different evolutions, what kinds of things are lessons, for lack of another, learned in life that's brought you to the place you are today?
Lessons that I have learned that have brought me here today, I would say would be trust your intuition and give yourself the grace that you give others. Because I know with over the half of the things that have happened, if I would have just listened to myself and listened to that voice saying, don't do this, or this is not okay, then I would be a completely different person. And I mean, obviously, things happen for a reason and all of that, but with the lessons, but going forth, I'm like, okay, I now know to listen to myself, use my voice, and trust who I am and my opinions.
Are you willing to share with us specifically some of the things that have happened that taught you those lessons?
Yeah, so I'm actually a little bit nervous about doing that because I haven't really, I have through breakthrough and things like that, but I'm very close to the vest when it comes to other people outside of that community, which is, I'm taking this as an opportunity to talk about some of those things. So one thing that I'll talk about is the first time I got married to my ex-husband. I was sitting there getting my makeup done by my sister's friend, and I remember sitting there being like, this isn't going to be forever. If this gets worse, then I can just leave. Marriage isn't forever. And that's really sad. That's incredibly sad. And obviously that marriage didn't last. There was some cheating and some emotional abuse, and it ended with him yelling in my face, telling me how worthless I am, and that he wants me out of the house, and that the only reason why I'm around is because he wants to get back with me, and all of these things. And it's still affecting me today from financial things and not knowing about lawyers and divorce. And I didn't know what I was doing when I was 21 going through a divorce. So unfortunately, I still have loans tied to him, and that has not been good for me, and it has screwed me over time and time again. So, I was really sad. I'm really sad for younger Raye, that she knew she deserved more and that she did not want this, but she went ahead and did it anyways.
Yeah, when you said to yourself, if this gets worse, I can get out, it kind of implies, well, I'm willing to settle right now.
Yeah.
What do you think was going on with you that allowed you to be willing to settle?
I wanted that small town marrying your high school sweetheart story so bad. And And also another side of that is I accepted, I know this is from like a youth book, but it was like, you accept the love that you know. And that's what I did. I accepted the love that I saw growing up was the love I was receiving from my ex-husband, which wasn't healthy and was not what I deserved. But also I wanted that dream of, because if you grow up in a smaller town, you see these couples, they're like in their 70s and they got married when they were 18 and they were with each other through the ups and downs. And I wanted that so bad. I was willing to risk myself, losing myself in that process of that dream.
And at the age of 19, you said that you were willing to accept the love that you knew. What did you learn after that that was like a whole new way to love?
It is finding the difference between conditional and unconditional love. I had experienced conditional love, I feel like, most of my life. That I've had to do things or say things or be a person that they wanted me to be to receive the love, which is, in other words, just to be safe. And I didn't really realize that until I actually met Isaac, my husband, of what unconditional love can look like. Because I'll be like, hey, it'll be just like random things of, I want to dye my hair a certain color. And he's like, okay, like you are more than willing, you are more than able to do what you want to do with that. Like, that's just who you are. Like, explore that part of yourself. And that just shocks me. Because like when I found out my ex-husband cheated on me, I went and got my nose pierced as a way of like getting back at him because he wouldn't allow me to pierce my nose. And it's interesting to see the little day-to-day things of what unconditional love can do for you compared to conditional love.
You know what I find fascinating is that so many people after their first marriage just repeat the same mistake over and over again, like they find the same kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think that was different for you, or what made it different for you?
I don't know. I don't think it was, I know a part of it was me. I was in a really bad headspace and I did not take care of myself or relationships the way that it happened. And I was bound and determined not to be in a relationship and I would never be married again. And all of that, like I was, like they have that phrase, hit it and quit it. Like that was 100% like what I was about. And, but then I met Isaac. I know it might sound tacky, but I feel like there were like forces behind the, like I'm not religious, but forces behind the scene that was like, no, this is the journey that you need. Like I remember seeing his like profile on Tinder and being like, all right, well this is it. Like, okay, I found him. Like I don't it's hard to explain, but there wasn't much logical things behind Isaac and I getting together, but I'm very, very fortunate it happened.
Do you find yourself still struggling with some of those old tapes, old messages that you grew up with?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. They are still a part of who I am, and I don't have the expectation of them staying or going. All I do know is that those tapes do not define me, and that's what makes it livable. It makes it the difference between surviving and living.
I got messages that still, I still am dealing with. Much less, but I still deal with. Are there certain messages you can share that you grew up with that you still finding like hard to conquer or deal with? Or
Yeah, let me think about that, because I know that I still have some from my like, I still think like passive aggressiveness, a tape of like if someone is sighing around me, it is my fault. I had done something to them and I need to figure out what I did wrong and I need to fix it. Another thing is that I struggle with is I used to always be told you were to be seen and not heard. So using my voice and making friends is really hard for me. Not so much lately, but that is one that has been a struggle.
You said before you got married the first time, I think you said this, that you were in therapy before, or was that after?
That was after.
Okay. So you went to therapy for a while and then you went to Breakthrough.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit about that journey?
Yeah. So, because I grew up in a household that you didn't go to therapy. You only went to therapy if you were like really messed up, which is funny because I think all of us deserve to go through therapy. But I went through therapy whenever I was discovering really bad things. And a lot of, my therapist told me that if you do not acknowledge or process trauma that happened to you as a child or in your childhood, in your 20s, it will start coming out in ways that you aren't aware of. Like, so I personally was extremely suicidal. Like I've always been, it's called passive suicidal, where like every day the thought of like killing yourself is there, but you don't want to do it. And I've been that since probably grade school. Like I can't think of a time where I haven't been that way. But it went to active suicidal when I was like 20, I think I was turning 22 because I went through inpatient. But I had that. I had an eating disorder. I was incredibly anxious. I had horrible PTSD. And so I was going through therapy, working through that, and I went through inpatient. And then I was like, I can't, like, I wasn't in crisis when I went through Breakthrough, but I was definitely not okay. Breakthrough 100% Breakthrough has helped me more than therapy did, which I believe in therapy still, like I still love therapy, but Breakthrough for me was life altering for me.
What do you think the difference was?
I think it was community. I genuinely think it was community because I'm an overthinker. I'm a processor. I'm able to sit and talk with someone for hours and hours and I still get something out of it. But if I don't hear other people's stories and I'm not able to relate to other people, then it's still so like focused on me. And it's having that community and that sacred space and also the trust, because I've never really been able to trust people. And having that trust and the tools that we used during Breakthrough honestly were some of my biggest like aha moments of, oh, this happened. Like it wasn't because of this situation, it was the abandonment that happened that is what's hurting me today. It's not what, physically happened to me and my body. It was what my friend did instead that kind of allowed it to happen. And it was just amazing.
On the other side of Breakthrough, what have things been like for you?
It has been like a weight lifted off your shoulders, and it feels just like a big, I can only think of like a big breath of fresh air. Like the burdens that I have carried are still sometimes there, but it's like what Dr. Paul always says, your story does not define you. Like, do not live by your story. And I used to do that, and I don't live by my story anymore. Like, I am Raye, Jonas, and, I am able to listen to myself and feel what feels right for me because of me, and be considerate of other people, but that's not your deciding factor.
How long ago did you go through?
Oh, I went through in 2019. It's only been 2 years, and it has already made this much of an impact on me.
So how does one go through Breakthrough 2 years ago and end up on the board of directors already?
I don't
That's
know.
amazing. That is amazing.
Yeah, I was part of, one thing that I have acknowledged was I was part of my own prisoner. Like, I held myself prisoner of my story. And as soon as I let that go, and also the wonderful people in the community saw it with me before I was able to see it myself, they reached out to me and was like, hey, we might want you on the board. What do you think about this? And I was like, I don't think I can do this. Like, I genuinely thought, like, why me? Like, I I don't understand. And then I talked it through with Isaac, and he was like, of course you. Like, you're, like, of course you. And, you know, you have a wonderful voice, and you're compassionate and a leader. Why not you? And I was like, okay, why not me? And so then I just took the jump, and I did it. And it's been wonderful.
So if somebody you ran into that knew you like they ran into you now, what do you think they would say?
I have no idea if what they would think, because I know I am not my high school. If I ran into someone from like high school like 4 years ago or whatever, or when I even bartended right after I turned 21, they would have no idea who I am. And honestly, that kind of makes me anxious, because I'm coming up on my 10-year anniversary or 10-year reunion soon. And I know my ex-husband has gone like back home to my hometown, and has lied completely about me and my story. And I've never shared my side of the story because I don't feel like it changes anything, because I know who I am and it doesn't matter. So that thought always kind of makes me a little anxious, because I'm like, oh, part of me is like, I want them to see who I am now. And the other part of me is like, it doesn't matter if they do or if they don't.
That's freaking outstanding.
That really
Go ahead,
is.
Don.
Thank you.
I would say one of the best things that I've heard you say is, why not me?
Yeah.
And I love that, because so many different times in our lives, we find all kinds of reasons why we're not worthy to do something. So aside from the board and being on the board, have there been other things where you've said to yourself, why not me, when you've been looking at different opportunities in life?
Yeah. So the past year, I got let go of my corporate job, and it was like, it wasn't my dream job at all, but I had it because I wanted to support Isaac in his start of his business. And when I got let go, I was gonna go back to a corporate job and just make that money and not really care. But I talked it over, and I was like, why not? Why can't it be my turn now? Like, your business is wonderful. It's taking off. It is stable. Why not me now? Why can't I go back? So I'm going to cosmetology school, like in weeks it starts. And the goal is to be my own boss and have my own little studio and create a safe and welcoming space that is an extension of myself. And that is something that I would never have imagined for myself, because like I wanted to go to cosmetology school right out of high school, but I was told that it wasn't good enough for me and that I needed to do more. I'm finally listening to what I want to do.
That's amazing.
I think knowing you and seeing you is like your aura, your heart, like and kind to other people, and people sense that and just automatically pick up and love you. Did you feel like it was always that way?
No, I don't think so. I think I didn't allow myself the space for that to happen. And even if it did happen, I wouldn't have received it. So I might have been loved like this my entire life from people, but I would not have received it at all.
What would you like to say to people who are listening, who maybe they're feeling kind of lost, maybe they're feeling like they don't have the confidence they need, maybe they feel like, oh man, I might as well just give up, I don't know what to do? What would you say to those folks?
I would say your story is not over, and you are not lost. You have what you need inside of you this entire time. It's just holding space for what you have to say and listening to yourself and not to others, and you'll find your answers.
Are you willing for folks to reach out to you if they wanted to talk more?
Absolutely.
What's the best way?
So my Facebook is Raye Jonas, and I think that would be the best way to reach out to me.
Awesome. Well, Raye, thank you so much for being with us today. We are very grateful that you've given us some space and that you've shared some of your wisdom with us and things that you've learned. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Raye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Fitz Rock Podcast.
The music you are hearing is Swim with Wild Musical Instruments by You're My Muse. Copyright 2019 and licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial License. Until next time, have a fantastic life.
Half marathon.